Yeah, I got the plan, I got the fam, I got the keys, I get the work. I am the man, you know what I'm saying, so leave it to me, cause I get it first. Yeah, whew, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm right around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drama, that's word of my mama. I'll cover you up like a tombstone. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work. If you work and it's fun, we on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We can do, ayy, we coming up from the dirt, ayy. They tryna get us to fall, ayy. I don't even gotta flex now, boy. It's only win by the fall, ayy. Taking off with the ring, ain't nothing left, man. We the kings, ran with the team, ran with the dream, ran with the one fan in the seats, ayy. I pay my dues, check the receipt. Looking at you, you already peaked. Way back then. You can't follow with my tracks, man. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work. If you work and it's fun, we on the winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team. On top where you find us, we can do anything. Non-stop till our time's up.
The playoffs continue tonight with a little bit of throwback spice. And with that, we welcome you to the second race of the Redline Racing League playoffs, live from the virtual iconic Darlington Raceway as we kick off our coverage right here on the KBueno Racing Network. And always happy to have you join us as we trot to the Championship 4, and happy to be in the booth where alongside Benjamin White, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Last week we saw what was awfully considered one of the craziest finishes we've seen with Malachi Drake taking the checkered flag, but we also were fixed on these playoffs, and now tonight 4 drivers will be eliminated as we move on to the round of 6 next week.
It's going to be all about stage points. These first stages are going to be huge for these drivers outside the cut line to try and get their way in, because this is not a win and you're in format. You have to go out and get points. And as we grid here, that's what these drivers are going to be focused on, Kenneth.
Going to be some elimination at stake. And in terms of the playoff grid, here is the playoff grid as the points stand, and the last 4 at the end of tonight will be eliminated. Then we'll cut down to the round of 6 with 6 drivers starting at Charlotte next week. And Benjamin, we talked, so just like you mentioned there, stages going to be oh so important for a lot of these drivers, especially how close they are all the way down to the ladder. But at a track like this, how difficult is it, or how more difficult is it, especially when you go to a track like Darlington where things always get so tough, and mixing it in with some playoff format racing with the points?
Well, this is one of the hardest tracks to pass at. There's not a whole lot of room, and picking up those points is going to be just the much harder there, as you're just going to have to struggle to pass here. But I mean, we could see people save their tires and come charging up through the field. We'll just have to see as we get into a long run. But cars grid now, and we'll go over the starting grid here coming up shortly.
So bring up the starting grid, see exactly where your favorite driver and every other driver will be starting from tonight. On the pole is Elliott Sadler Esports driver Vicente Salas with a 27.427. He'll start on the pole right alongside Brody Garner, the number 55. And if you're looking at the paint schemes tonight, going to be looking at a lot of throwbacks here at Darlington. We'll go over those as the broadcast goes, but Brody Garner will start tonight from second.
2 very nice looking throwbacks back there. That's Blaze Brinkley starting in the 3rd spot, throwing back to Bobby Allison in the Miller High Life car, and that is Chase Bonzer in the Steve Park Shark car throwback from, I believe, 2000. So 2 very nice looking throwbacks right there.
And in the back to row number 3, you'll find Corey H. Hartson, number 57, also sporting a illustrious throwback in the purple scheme. And right alongside him, the 99 Dylan O will start from 5th. Or from 6th.
Row number 4, Andy McDowell, who decided not to show up with the throwback, not honoring the spirit here tonight. And Ryan Kendrick, who's in that Mad Magazine throwback, one of the best throwbacks here in the field.
Back to row number 5, Jordan Kuntz in the 999 will start from 9th, and Blaze McKinney in his Jimmy Johnson Power of Pride throwback will start from the 10th position. Going to look a little bit further back as we scroll through this grid. There's Nick Miller, Braxton DeWeese, and we got Mitch Hobbs, Sartaj Mon in row number 7. Casey Drake, Latham Joyner down row number 8. Mark Frimpong, row number 9. But got a couple drivers a little bit further back. There's Josh Kosick in the mix. A lot of drivers here. More than 25, or at least 24 for tonight's action here from Darlington Raceway. And always going to be a lot of fun at this track, especially since it's been one of the most historic tracks we see on the NASCAR schedule. And as they come off of turn 4, it'll be Brody Garner, Vicente Salas, your top 2 that'll come off turn 4. Pace cars off, and we are playoff racing from Darlington.
Pretty even start here for both lines as they head down the front straightaway in turn number 1. Brinkley giving the help to Salas on that inside. You can see cars are loose through 1 and 2, just trying to figure out where they're going to go here down the back straightaway. 1 car in the wall, that's Ryan Kendrick. Now cars fan out to the inside, but you're going to have to figure out your line here early, Kenneth, especially once we get to this long run. It's going to be the line that you're going to want to run this whole time, as now Brinkley goes to the inside for the 2nd spot.
Brickley to the inside of Garner for second. Still even though behind Vicente as he easily took the lead. Now Brody's up to the outside wall. Almost got a hit with his proximity teammate there in Chase Bonser. We're seeing off turn 2. That seems to be one of the struggle spots. We saw one of the drivers in Ryan Kendrick get involved into the outside wall. He's now lagging back through this field, and the wall is going to be something we talk about all night long, because you're going to be seeing, especially off turn 3 and 4, drivers so high up to that wall, almost clipping it most of the time, and that's the fastest line around there. And you see the 55 trying to get under the 57. He also strikes the wall as well, but so difficult to track like this, and especially when you bring in the playoff racing. We got stages to supplement in points, so we got lap 30 will be the end of stage 1, lap 60 end of stage 2. Remember, no yellows for each of those stages, so we're going to be possibly deeping into a long green flag run, and maybe at some point, Benjamin, and that could be one of the hardest things to do, especially at a track like this with the tire wear so significant.
Bonds are up in third. He needs these stage points bad. He's in a hole coming into this race as he needs to make the round of 6, but right now, running third, doing what he can to salvage a good run here in the stages to get stage points. It's what he has to do in these first 2 stages. Maybe he can come up with a game plan to go after the win in the 3rd stage as well. But right now, the most important thing to him is probably points, as Salas continues to lead them through 1 and 2. Alt has picked up a few spots. Here comes Kuntz to the back bumper of that Charlie Glotz back of Corey Hart's down the back straightaway. I believe that's for the 7th spot. Kuntz also needs these stage points.
Kuntz, one of those playoff drivers, also behind him, that 15 of Blaze McKinney also, but still in a relatively good spot for him. For Kuntz, it's a little bit faring a little worse. He's a little behind McKinney, I believe, in the points by just a little bit, but they are fairly close. Those guys occupying some of the top spots within the top 5 to the top 6, where that will be cut off from 7th on back. And obviously some drivers to mention, Ryan Kendrick, who just smacked the wall on that opening lap. He has heavy damage, but he's going to stay out on the track for the most point, or for now at least. You got last week's winner, Malachi Drake, falling back. I'm not sure whether he started very late or did get some damage, but he's off turn 4 and all by himself on the racetrack. But if you look up front, still a charging 98 of Blaze Brinkley trying to get by the Elliott Sadler Esports entry of Vicente Salas.
Very good speed here for the 12 early in this race as he works through 3 and 4 right now, right behind the 14 here. We'll see as this run goes on who exactly is saving and who's pushing their tires. As remember, we do have limited tire sets here in the Redline Racing League, so drivers will have to manage their tires the best they can here. As about a 5-car breakaway here up front. Garner, the last of those. Alt has picked up a few spots from his starting position, Kenneth.
Yeah, Alt started a little bit further back in this field. He's already picked up to 4th, maybe even 3rd if he can get by this train, or at least get by Chase Bonser for the most parts. Now went from a 2-car breakaway now to just 4, maybe even 5 if you count Brody Garner if he starts catching up through this field. Garner did start 2nd, but is falling back to 5th. Was pretty much stuck on that outside. Really had nowhere to go for the most part. Had to fall through in line for now. And obviously, you're looking at the right colors right now. In terms of this top 3, of course, Alt does not have a throwback, but you're looking in a 3rd, that 81 of Chase Bonser, rocking a Penzel scheme tribute to Steve Park, ran at Homestead Miami Speedway in some of the early years when they started racing at that venue. So very, very interesting. Obviously, I mentioned the scheme right in front of him with Blaze Brinkley there. And that Toyota, the Rapid's finest drivers. A lot of drivers changing their sponsors, different fonts, and I think it looks very beautiful in the sunset here, Benjamin.
Yes, it does. As you can see the onboard there from Bonser as they went into turn 3. These drivers are actually stacking up this outside line here, and it's now up to 8 cars in this group. How about Nick Miller in that David Starr throwback? That's the first ever Divine Family Racing car to ever run in the Cup Series, and very good tribute to that team as they close their doors at the end of this season, as Miller now works into the 8th spot.
And that scheme actually did run in the NASCAR Cup Series event at Texas Motor Speedway and had a pretty good finish with Christopher Bell running behind the wheel of that machine. And obviously Nick Miller paying tribute to that team and their future, hopefully in their future being bright in terms of them. But now it's up to 5, maybe even 6 cars. They've kind of separated a little bit through this front pack. I did mention that could be 5 with Brody Garner, maybe even 6, 7, 8 if you count a little bit further back with Andy McDowell, Jordan Kuntz, and Nick Miller trying to join the scene as well. But so far, right now, it's seeming single file, Benjamin. I know that at a track like this, it seems to be very hard to pick and choose the places to pass on this racetrack, because you can go turn 1 and you could easily make a mistake in either corner and you could be sent up into the wall, or you can collect other drivers in the process. So how patient do you really have to be in terms of trying to make a pass here at Darlington, and maybe with some of these drivers expecting long runs down the stretch?
It's kind of a waiting game on mistakes from other drivers, but you could see a run forward into one of the turns, whether that's turn 1 or 3. But right now, nobody's been able to get an adequate run on this 14 car. He's led this entire race up to this point here as we work lap number 14. Here's a battle further back. Kendrick with that damage, and he knocks down the wall once again. So one of our playoff contenders struggling right now to keep the handle on his race car. That Mad Magazine throwback. I'd say the driver's pretty mad too as they work down the back straightaway into turn 3. Noah Allison about to go by him.
Allison working. This is for 17th further on in this field. Again, Kendrick with that damage. I believe he should be hoping for some sort of yellow flag to come out at some point. And concerning the amount of damage that he has, especially his spot in the playoffs, he is at risk of elimination going into tonight. But got a little bit of smoke a little bit ahead. Not sure whether that was something that might have happened there. See some damage on the 49 of Sartaj Mon. Possibly could have been contact. We'll take a replay. Could have possibly been him as we headed off of turn number 2.
Sartaj also with damage there is... Oh, and now he gets turned by Joyner, but he saves it. What a save, Kenneth, as Sartaj was just dead sideways in turn 2 after getting a bumper.
Yeah, really had to save that car. I was wondering what that smoke was, and it turned out to be him. And those are 2 proximity racing machines with damage. Kendrick and Sartaj, respectively. But both of those drivers going to have to file out the rest of the way through. As here we have a huge battle from 4th on back. There is Brody Garner leading this pack of cars. Andy McDowell, Chase Bonser, who actually fell down to 6th place in this exchange. And then Nick Miller, Jordan Kuntz also joining the party. So now it's split a little bit as the top 2 now breaking away. Alt actually picked up the 3rd.
And we're getting reports that the 99 has actually suffered some rising oil temperatures, so that's not good for the engine here, as Alt's just trying to run his race right now. But it would just be terrible if he ended up being knocked out of the chase because of oil temperature. But I don't think he's going to blow up from that. I think he'll be just fine, as he's not really closely riding behind any other cars, Kenneth. So for right now, it looks like the issue may be resolved as he rides in 3rd.
We'll keep an eye on that 99. He is picking time up on those top 2, so he is still hanging regardless of that oil temperature rising. And if should anything happen, we'll take a look and we'll try to monitor that as much as possible. Still running in 3rd, and of course did mention that big battle behind as Bonser might have had a piece of the outside wall there. Had to check up the 21 of Nick Miller in the process. Kuntz goes by. Now a huge line of cars behind there. Corey Hartz, Braxton DeWeese, Blaze McKinney, Mitch Hobbs, and Mark Frimpong running a really nice scheme, a Bobby Allison Gatorade scheme, and not much we see that.
Right at the end of this group here is Hartz and others work down the front straightaway. We haven't said Braxton DeWeesen's name tonight, but he's got a nice paint scheme as well.
Yeah, designed by the driver sitting right behind him, Blaze McKinney, right there in the number 15. He designed that scheme, posted about it a little bit ago on Instagram, actually giving the bumper to him, trying to help him down the back straightaway. I guess giving him an extra shove to try to catch up to Corey Hartz in the process, but we'll see just how well that A does. Trying to look to the inside, just really not have much of a run, but as we're crossing the line, we have got to 10 laps to go in this stage, and we're on the way to lap number 30. Stage 1 will conclude. No yellow will be signaled, so we won't have a yellow flag unless we do have, of course, an incident that will cause a yellow flag. But if there's nothing on the racetrack, if everything seems clean and well, then we'll stay green from there on out, possibly with a longer run. And you see now, Blaze Brinkley almost had a piece of the wall. He was battling Dylan Alt in the process, but also looking at the fuel window for these drivers is about 35 laps or so, give and take. It could be just an approximation there as Brinkley smacks the wall once more, trying to keep that straight. Now Andy McDowell will try to pounce, but especially now we're coming to the end of this stage. We're going to be looking at pit stop soon here. Should we get this green flag run continuing, should we have no yellows. Brinkley.
That 12 car's been plowing, Kenneth. He's just been going in the wall lap after lap now as McDowell now goes for the 3rd spot. Nice early run for McDowell. Brinkley, though, just trying to hang on to the end of this stage.
And you expect a lot of drivers just trying to hang on. Obviously, that 12 car complaining about a tight race car has already hit the wall a couple of times through the past couple of laps. So he went from 2nd all the way down to 4th. I lost that spot to Dylan Alt and Andy McDowell. Could also lose spots to the proximity driver, Brody Garner, who's actually running quite possibly, I think, in my bias, one of the best looking schemes out there tonight. The 55 Aaron's machine driven by David Ruderman just a couple of years back in the car of tomorrow as he loses a spot to Jordan Kuntz, but possibly Nick Miller in the process. But does not have the word Aaron's on the machine, but has the word Brody and a little dog right there on the hood there, rather than the Aaron's dog or the Aaron's lucky dog that usually shows up on the Aaron's logo. So very creative way to kind of demonstrate that as we move on. I think I saw one car all the way down to the inside. That was Noah Allison. Actually think he might have hit down pit road, but he does have some damage, Benjamin. I'm not sure really where this came from, but going to try to enter back on the track and try to get as much as he can. He's 1 lap down.
In that Jeff Gordon throwback to, I believe, 2010 is the year he ran that, and you can see there's smoke trailing the back of the car there, and he's got plenty of rear end damage, so that's probably where it came from. Is Salas and Alt, these two are the big two here in this series, and they've pulled away by over a second over Andy McDowell, so this is absolutely no surprise. The two dominant drivers all season now battling for another stage win as they work to turn 3. Alt has really come alive in the second part of this first stage.
And we talk about him so much in the past couple races, Benjamin. I think it's starting to become conversation is just going to stick around for a while, especially in these playoffs with Vicente Salas, Dylan Alt. Those two have been so strong, and those two were actually in contention for the win at Kentucky last week, but it was Malachi Drake that took overall. And if Malachi Drake did not pull off that fuel run, it would have been either one of these two to take the checkered flag that evening. They would have taken a win, and that win could have cemented their spot into the round of 6 going into that round at Charlotte, Talladega. Surely could be one of those skills, especially just not having to worry about Darlington and getting that win in Kentucky. But these two, again, fighting for that stage win. 2 laps to go at the line, or at least 3 to go at the line until we get to the stage. And you're right, Benjamin. Alt's car has really come alive, has been storming fast within this last couple of laps, and especially within this segment of the run. Salas still defending this lead. He's been quick enough to defend the lead from any driver, but Alt really the driver to really gain the most in terms of that run. Also, Andy McDowell having a very solid car. Brinkley still falling back, and now under pressure from Kuntz and Miller.
That damage is certainly not helping him one bit as he continues to fall through the field. You can just see how much faster Kuntz is in the corner there, and Jordan will probably be passing him for the position here soon, but Brinkley's doing all he can to try and defend this position and at least salvage some stage points here as now Kuntz works to the inside. Miller, though, is going to go with Brinkley down the front straightaway as we take the white flag for the stage, Kenneth.
White flag for the stage. There was Nick Miller trying to fill the gap on the outside that Kuntz left open, but going back up to the front, still a dogfight for that stage win. And Vicente and Alt going to work in a 3 and 4. Going to try it once more. Dylan Alt might try one thing up his sleeve, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So we'll end the stage here. No yellow will be signaled. We'll stay green, but Vicente Salas is your stage number 1 winner. We'll go all the way to lap number 60 to conclude stage number 2. Obviously some points that just needs to benefit, especially those two, Vicente and Dylan Alt respectively. I mean, you look a little bit further back, Garner's getting some well-needed points, but look at this battle a little bit further back. There's Braxton DeWeese coming out of nowhere. Jordan Kuntz fell back. Also, Brinkley fell back dramatically. I'm not sure whether they have smacked the wall or whether that 98 got any more damage, but got a hornet's nest here for, I believe, 5th place or so.
Ooh, Kuntz got the wall off turn 4. McKinney goes to his inside. McKinney really has not had the start to his round of 10 that he really wanted here, but he goes to the inside and passes up Kuntz for that spot and is now trying to pick up as many points as he possibly can. But I do want to bring up Andy McDowell here. He got 3rd in the stage. Those are absolutely huge stage points. He came in -2 below the cut line. So as long as he salvages really good stage points and finishes where he is, he's going to be in the next round, no questions, because that's just a really good points run for this 20. If he's points racing, this is exactly what he needs to be doing right now. Now Miller up to the 4th spot after starting near the rear of the field.
Yeah, Miller starting further back. He's now picked up through this run, and now, especially as we gotten past this first stage, I think now could be into the conversation, the pit road strategy. Now that this is staying green, that we don't have any yellows, you're probably expecting a lot of these drivers to start heading down pit road at some point, and we're definitely not unfamiliar with this, Benjamin. Seeing the green flag stops at Kentucky, seeing a lot of the longer green flag runs carry on through a good portion of these races. Chicago, you can mention one of them where Nick Miller took over that strategy entirely, executed it perfectly, picked up his first win there. So not unfamiliar territory that we're coming into about strategy. We're looking at about 35 or so laps to the fuel window, maybe even a little bit more. There's about 35, just a little bit longer, maybe about 5 laps longer, maybe even less, depending how long you're willing to stretch it. Remember, still got a couple of drivers that could try bold strategies through the route, but it has been all pressure to the back bumper of the 14. Dylan Ault has not let up one bit, has still been fighting hard right behind that number 14. He really has not given up whatsoever. And those two still fighting for the first and second spots. As look a little bit further back, and an update on what just happened a little bit further there. Kuntz has a little bit of damage, but he's sitting 8th. I think 9th. Bonser got to battle a little bit for the top 10 spot. That's Mitch Hobbs now making his way. And Mitch Hobbs actually started a little bit further down this field. Good to see him back into this top 10 in this run.
Very nice run for Mitch here, and this is absolutely not the race that Brinkley wanted, because Brinkley's point situation, he came in 5th in points, but he was only +4 over the cut line. And if he continues to fall back with this damage, it might spell doom for his chase hopes.
Yeah, there's not many points separating those drivers, even further down, all the way to 10th, where Sam King was. And Sam King is not in this race tonight, so he for sure will be eliminated after tonight's event and after the checkered flag waves here at Darlington Raceway. So he won't be fighting for a title after tonight, but still a battle everywhere else in terms of that, as Brody Garner has now made his way down pit road. Jordan Kuntz has made his way down pit road. Got a lot of drivers starting to make their trips down, and that means strategy is now in the books.
And we'll see if anybody takes that undercut and charges on fresh tires. That'll be important for track position. As you can see, several drivers come in for service. Brody Garner, Jordan Kuntz, 2 of them. Corey Hartz as well, and that Charlie Glotzback, though, back to his Dow car from 1969. He's in the pit lane as cars continue to work around the racetrack. There's 3rd place Andy McDowell. He's in for pit service.
Surprised Kendrick is staying out with the damage, maybe just trying to get track position and possibly get some of that damage fixed so he can have time to do so. Still haven't had a lot of these drivers here. Still the top 2 battling for that first spot, and both of them have yet to make their way down pit road, so you expect that they are probably stretching this a little bit further. We'll just have to see what they signal going into turn number 3 and 4, but still all pressure to the back bumper for Dylan Ault, still trying to hang on and take away that spot from Vicente for that first spot. Got a couple drivers that are already out of pit road, including Andy McDowell now out of pit road. Miller has already made his stint out, so he's gained track position in the process. Garner and Kuntz, you see how much the tire difference is. There's Malachi Drake, our last week's winner, who stayed out there and on Kentucky, and what a drive by that 90. Was not really expecting him to make this move. He did that strategy with Casey Drake and actually with Casey Drake. It was him and Casey Drake. Both of them made that move. Casey Drake went down to pit road, as now he's on pit road at the current moment, and Malachi stayed out at the end, saved enough fuel, and was pretty much on fumes off of turn 4 and won there at Kentucky. Maybe could keep an eye out on him possibly if we see this long green flag run continue to stretch out. But Dylan has taken over the lead. Vicente has made his way down pit road, and I think a couple other drivers might soon to follow. There's Bonser, and Kendrick is around. I'm not sure whether he was hanging on to the brakes, but he's around there in the entrance of pit road. Still hasn't refired his machine. We'll take a replay.
Oh, it's one of those treacherous pit road entrances. This is one of the hardest pit roads to enter. We've seen it time and time again. People miss it. And for Kendrick, it just stepped out on him when he tried to turn the car and
Oh.
hits the inside wall, but no caution comes out as it's mostly off the surface of the racetrack, and now he is in his pit box, presumably has towed the car, and now you can see Miller has actually jumped Salas for that position.
Yeah, now Vicente just got out of pit road. Miller just a little bit ahead, so move Nick Miller to second and possibly even first as Alt now makes his trip down pit road. So we could see a new race leader, Nick Miller. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier, Benjamin, that it's not a surprise that we see a lot of these green flag runs and these differing strategies. Of course, Chicagoland comes to mind, especially with this driver specifically. Nick Miller did that strategy at Chicagoland, was really not expecting us up in the booth. We were not expecting him to really play it off the best way he could. And we were kind of questioning ourselves on whether it would work, but turns out he executed that perfectly and took his first win there. So he knows what it's like to hang on, to do that different strategy, and to work around that. Of course, we haven't seen a yellow flag so far tonight, but that could still be in the books as now we got less than 20 laps to go until stage 2 of lap number 60.
Yeah, the thing with Miller's strategy at Chicagoland is the fact that he caught a caution, and he was the only one to pit. And in turn, when the rest of the race went green, he was the only one that could make it a one-stop. So he absolutely played it to his advantage and ended up winning that race. We'll see if he can do the same today in some capacity, but right now leads the race, so very good showing for him. Alda's actually back to the 4th spot, so staying out really has not helped this 99. He stayed out probably the longest of these very fast cars, but look at the difference between these tires here. Andy McDowell, even though he pit just about 4 laps ago, he's already getting blown by for the 3rd spot. So I might be eating my crow here in a few laps, but for right now, Dylan's back in the 3rd spot. But the gap isn't really closing too much between the 14 and the 21.
It's not too much. I mean, Vicente Salas just got out of pit road, but then obviously you spend a couple laps out there on the track as soon as you get the fresh tires, and it does work to your advantage. You're able to carve into the lead, but there's only so many laps you can run until that fresh rubber starts to wear out, and you won't have as much grip. You won't be as quick. You can't cut in the gap too much unless you're just quick, just naturally quick with raw speed. But in terms of the tires helping you, it can only help you for only so much time until it starts to dwindle out, and then it's all down to you and how you handle your race car, or at least how Miller also handled his race car in order for that gap to start shrinking at some point. Also could be a point, lap traffic. We're already seeing that start to play in. There's Latham Joyner, who's now just gone 1 lap down. He was 15th at the time of the last lap. Now getting around Josh Kosick there. Could be some trouble. Was very tight there to the outside wall, but Kosick nonetheless is going to let everybody by. And actually, speaking of both of them, they have easily caught up to Miller. Dylan on the freshest tires, now charging.
I like micro with barbecue sauce as Dylan is just passing these guys up. Now going for the 2nd spot. Might end up actually getting the lead here as Miller backs up the corner there on those older tires. And now Alt goes to the race lead. So I'm going to eat every bit of that crow there. As now Salas goes 3 wide down the front straightaway. What a race as they go side by side to turn 1.
Alt made that
so
move to the
close.
bottom. Salas still hanging on to the inside. They're even off turn 2. Oh boy, Dylan almost close to the wall. Miller, though, still in this party. He's still hanging around. Can still get the draft all these guys, especially if they tangle, which I don't think they will, considering how respectful they've been. They could, as now a yellow comes out. Lap number 49, and we'll take a look, see who that might have been. Don't necessarily see anybody specifically. Could have been actually Noah Allison, who has heavy damage on that number 24 machine. And with 10 laps to go in this 2nd stage, we have a caution. We'll take a look and see exactly what might have happened. It could have been that 24. Result of the yellow. Actually, I don't think it was, but could have been Josh Kosick also, because he went down pit road. As soon as the yellow came out, maybe he could have been the cause of the incident. Maybe DiMaggio, I'm not quite sure who it was specifically. We'll try to take a look around the racetrack. See exactly. This was Josh Kosick's view a little bit. Got into the wall. I don't think that was enough to really send him around, so I don't think he's the cause of the yellow flag. Actually, probably went down pit road this time by. I'm not sure. Actually, still looking around. And there's Josh Casagrande. So there it
Oh.
was. That's the cause of the yellow. Was still looking at him. We went back a little bit too far. And this is off turn 4. And then I think got loose
Oh.
off there. Tried to catch it. And then hard contact into the inside wall. That was the cause of the yellow. And almost back up into the main pack because they had to split
Oh,
there.
man. Mitch Hobbs almost plowed into him, but I can see why that happened because this is probably one of the hardest tracks
Oh.
to manage old tires at and drive on old tires, so cars are very loose out on the racetrack. I'm not really surprised to see that, and that brings out our first caution of the day. We made it to lap 50 before we had that first caution, so just shows you how clean some of these guys are here in the Redline Racing League.
Surely does. And saw Braxton DeWeese come up to second. Got a couple drivers down pit road. I'm pretty sure that these guys did pit. I saw Dylan Alt stay out and saw a bunch of positions change around. I saw Salas went down to 3rd. Miller went down to 4th. And Braxton DeWeese shot all the way up to 2nd. He was behind those guys. Mind you, while we were still in the green, he had the capacity. He was able to catch up to this main group. But then that yellow came out, kind of froze the field. I'm sure that pit strategy, or at least all the drivers going down pit road, could have been a factor to change up those spots, at least move those two drivers who are battling for the lead behind Dylan All, just one spot behind. They'll have to work a little more, at least won't be too much, at least going to this next green flag with, I believe, just a couple of laps to go left until the end of stage number 2. Just a reminder that if you're in the YouTube chat and you want to join the conversation with us up in the KBRN booth, you can do so using hashtag AskKBRN, and you can ask anything you like. Of course, put your question with the hashtag AskKBRN, and you can ask anything you like, of course, within appropriate terms to us up in the booth, and we'll be sure to answer it just as soon as you send it. So that's AskKBRN for anything you want to ask. It's lap 52 in the books. We're looking to stage number 2, and now, Benjamin, I think the conversation will start to get a little more crucial as we move a little bit more forward with some of the drivers that need those points. Obviously, you talked about Chase Sponsor, who's now sitting in 11th. He needed those points as well, but you're also looking at guys like Andy McDowell, who had the stage points and finished in 3rd. He's now 5th. A little bit drivers a little bit further back. Ryan Kendrick, who had that damage, I think he might have had it fixed and actually did get it fixed for the most part. What do these drivers have to do now on this next restart, or within these next handful of laps, as we got the 1 to green signal, to try and get the maximum amount of points, or at least try to hang on, get the small amount of points to stay with the drivers in the top 6?
Drivers on the oldest tires are going to have the hardest time doing this, but what does help them is how narrow this track is and how little room there is to pass, so things are playing in on both sides of the spectrum here, and we'll see what happens here on this restart. We might see chaos as cars are exiting the pits there. Noah Allison, I think, just knocked the cone onto the racetrack, so Noah making the cone's life harder there. But getting ready for the restart here, stacked up 2 by 2 by 2. It'll be Dylan Alt, Braxton DeWeese leading the field. You've got Vicente Salas, Nick Miller into the 2nd row, and that's Andy McDowell, who also really needs these stage points. He restarts 5th as the green flag is back out.
Green flag back out from Darlington. Dylan Alt with a jump start of the century. Now out to about a second or so over the field. It's a dogfight for second, though, as DeWeese now has to hang on to the outside. Almost contact between the two as they're moving. Vicente now coming up to second as Vicente gets turned on the back straightaway. Hard contact with Nick Miller. Caution waves at lap 54. And a 3-car pileup includes multiple drivers, one being a playoff driver. I think Vicente is now with a sigh of relief because he already locked himself in from that previous stage. But hard damage to that 14 machine as we work our 2nd caution of the evening.
Wow. I was not expecting that, and now the 14 has quite a bit of damage, so he might be taken out of the equation here to win this race. We'll get a replay here. They were just crowding each other up the racetrack and down the racetrack, as you'll see on exit here.
Oh.
And, oh man, that one's hard to call from that angle. It looks like DeWeese comes down, but Salas also comes up, but we'll see here on this secondary angle. Oh yeah, DeWeese goes down, definitely. Could have been a little bit more on the wall there, as now you see the replay here. Most of these drivers did a nice job of avoiding that, so very good job there for it not to be much larger than a 3-car crash. Kendrick with the nice
Wow.
avoidance there. Miller, though, in
Wow.
that David Starr throwback, was not so lucky. He took a hard shot to the inside wall, that number 21. He has no front clip on that race car.
You look on the onboard shot, right in the cockpit, just really had nowhere to go.
Man.
Deweese just comes down, spinning down the racetrack, and Miller just nowhere else to be, nowhere else to move, not much time to react. And it's a 3-car pileup. Could send Nick Miller out of the race, and indeed puts him into the garage. So Nick Miller possibly could be out of this race for good. So we're going to update on Vicente Salas, and sitting 13th now down pit road. But at least the good news for Vicente is that he did lock himself in with that stage win at lap number 30. So at least it won't be too harsh. And he did also have a good margin in the points before. But it's a tough break for Nick Miller, who was running well in tonight's race. Obviously, Vicente Braxton was coming up through this field. At least in this segment, we're anticipated to see what he could have done up there in this field. And he also had a good shot to run with these leaders, and he was running them down after the initial pit cycle. So would have been interesting to see what he would have been able to do, but unfortunate for all three of them. They got all caught with most of the damage going to Nick Miller and Vicente. I think Braxton might have survived a little bit more, but in terms of that, there's Deweese now with the least damage. He's now outside of pit road, but that damage will affect his aero for sure, as we're under the yellow flag once more, lap number 57, and could be a potential run to the end of the stage. We'll see what the officials decide, whether this could be the end of the stage, whether they'll signify this as the end of the stage, or whether we'll have just about a 2 or 1 lap shootout to call a stage winner. Of course, Andy McDowell will probably be hoping for that, but even then, second place from where he came into tonight in the point standings would mean wonders for that Toyota Camry, even if he's behind Dylan All.
If we take the green flag for this stage, and it's going to be a shootout, and if we get the 1 to go this time, I believe that will put us with a 1-lap dash to the stage end. So that will be interesting for sure, especially for these guys on the edge of this cut line. Drivers like Andy McDowell. You've also got Ryan Kendrick, Chase Bonser also in the position to get stage points. Jordan Brinkley as well, or Blaze Brinkley. My mistake there as I was reading off the Dan Lisa. But Blaze, though, not too sure where he's running right now. Definitely has plenty of damage on the front end there. He runs 10th there, and that might be one of the best throwbacks of the night. Just take a look at it. Even the font matches, that's definitely commitment to making your throwback as accurate as possible. As you see, Rapid's finest drivers is the text there instead of Miller High Life, but either way, definitely one of the best throwbacks of the night. And we're going to have a vote, I believe, on this throwback poll, and I believe the winner gets $10. So you've got an extra bonus there if you have the best throwback in the field. There's quite a few very nice throwbacks here, so I think that vote will be relatively close, Kenneth.
There's a lot of beautiful cars shining under the lights. Obviously, you see drivers like Corey Hartz with this paint scheme, that bright purple. See Blaze McKinney, that Jimmy Johnson throwback, Brody Garner, Chase Sponsor, lots of drivers with very nice throwbacks, including Blaze Brinkley. But we're going to go back to the green flag off turn number 4. Dylan Alt will get that start, and we are back under green as we got a 1-lap shootout to the stage end.
Alt leads, McDowell up to second. These are huge points for him if he can hang on in that Skittle Zombie Toyota Camry as they work through 1 and 2 right now. Side by side for the 3rd spot, that's McKinney and Hartz. And now Mitch going for the 5th spot. What a great run for Hobbs here tonight. Is also Kuntz, who came in 4th in points. He's charging on the outside, trying to get more stage points, and he'll go around the outside to 4th, but we'll come into the last lap here in this stage as we take lap number 60, Kenneth.
White flag in the stage. It's all clear for Dylan All. I don't think Andy McDowell will try to push the issue. Blaze McKinney has been rather quick. Moved to the outside, made that move. He's now up to 3rd. Jordan Kuntz and Chase Sponsor also working in the mix. Look a little bit further back. You'll find a big battle, kind of a quartet here with Mitch Hobbs, Brody Garner, Corey Hartz, and Blaze Brinkley. But off turn 4, it's going to be a stage win for Dylan All second in points, and we'll get those points maximum for that stage win. Stage number 2 will be green all the way to the end. No more stages to count, no more points to be given out in terms of that. It has to be all the way to the end of this race, but Andy McDowell has fallen back. Here comes Blaze McKinney for second, trying to look to the inside. Might try to get it within the next couple of laps or so.
Wow, contact there for second as McKinney, who's kind of been quiet all night, Kenneth. He's working his way up to the field in that Jimmy Johnson Power of Pride throwback from the year 2001. He's trying to get up through the field here and now was challenging for the second spot with Andy McDowell, but has since backed off. Here comes Kuntz now trying to maybe make a run for that spot.
So all single file mostly through this top 10, but you got a hornet's nest here. There's Vicente Salas, who's now sitting 11th with that damage, so at least he's back out on the racetrack. The only driver that was really taken out to the garage was Nicky Miller with that damage, and probably really cannot rebound from that. But got a lot of drivers following behind Brody Garner here. Corey Hartz, got Blaze Brinkley, who kind of smacked the wall. I believe lost a couple of spots there just a little bit earlier on that restart. Sartaj Mon, there's Latham Joyner, Aaron Brown, still all single file, and still meanwhile there's Vicente now moving for the top 10 spot.
I think Vicente is just trying to salvage what he can at this point. I don't think he's going to have winning speed with the damage on his race car, but he can definitely salvage a good night here out of this car. As you see Brinkley right in front of him, he's also trying to salvage a night here, and especially important for Brinkley, who is near that cutoff in points. Came in 4 points up on the cut line, but has not gotten the stage points that he wanted after running second earlier. I thought it was going to be a promising night for him, and he would easily score enough stage points to put him above the cut line, the buffer there, but unfortunately it just hasn't gone that way, as now he's blinking. So how about we just make things worse, as Corey Hart's right in front of him, really backing up his corners, almost gets to the wall.
Yeah, that 57 has been tagging the wall, and speaking of which, they're both involved. Around goes Corey Hartz and locking the brakes. The 98 of Blaze Brinkley. We don't think there's a yellow out of this just yet. Officials have not waved the yellow flag. That really is not going to help his case.
Caution.
And now the yellow comes out at lap number 66. Finally, they decided to throw that yellow flag. Boy, it's been a night that's gone from bad to worse for Blaze Brinkley. He might have more damage from that contact with Corey Hartz. And they were battling for that spot. It seemed Corey Hartz might have gotten into the wall a couple of times prior, and he saw that machine try to get around, but just was not enough, and then at that point has gone around. As we'll take a replay and we'll see exactly what the exact cause of it really just happened right in front of us as it happened. It was off of turn number 4, and you'll see right at this cam. We'll take a higher look at an aerial shot. Here was the look down. You see the 57 almost tagging the outside wall. Blaze was looking to the bottom, and I think really not much space to really go for there, as Hartz goes hard into the inside wall. And this is right here for, as you're looking at the immediate onboard camera, this is looking down the inside, was peaking low off turn 2. It gets very understeery, and then just holding onto the brakes, just hoping it doesn't go back up into the field or goes down into the inside wall. As Corey Hartz did have the worst of it. You'll see here, just off turn 2. There's the contact, and then right into the inside wall. Second time we see that tonight. First with Nick Miller, now on the front straightaway with Corey Hartz.
Totally unfortunate for him. Cody is saying it's bad net code, and I agree after watching the replay there. He got sideways off the net code, and then they touched, which is probably frustrating the heck out of both of those drivers. That's not how they wanted to at least end Corey's night, because Corey's got plenty of damage on that 57 car, but Brinkley's got a bit less damage, but it just adds on for him here tonight. He's not had the night that he's wanted here, and drivers that have had the nights that they needed and wanted, Blaze McKinney, Andy McDowell, 2 of them have scored very adequate stage points. Chase Bonser as well, who was also below the cut line due to an engine expiration at Kentucky. So Bonser also doing a good job of scoring stage points.
So that leaves another playoff driver in trouble at risk of elimination. And also Ryan Kendrick, who we really haven't talked about too much other than the beginning portion of the stage where he did hit that outside wall. He's now back down pit road. He's one lap down. That is fighting for Corey Hart, fighting with Corey Hart's for the lucky dog, and he still hasn't gotten it this time by, so you have to wait once more. Surely we'll get around considering the damage that Corey Hart's has, but it is also not looking very well for that 0-0 of Ryan Kendrick, still trying to hold on to championship hopes, trying to move on to the round of 6 when we go to Charlotte. But especially looking in that last restart, or at least within the past couple of laps, at least all the way to the stage, Benjamin, we saw lots of things change in this order. Vicente was up here. He's not here anymore. He is sitting 6th, so he's not out of this yet. But he's not in the top 2, and he has a damaged race car. McDowell went to 2nd. Saw Blaze McKinney work almost for 2nd. He had a little bit of leeway, tried to get by, but he was not able to get by. Bonser had that move on the outside, so he's now into this top 4. How about Brody Garner back into this top 5? Seeing a lot of drivers into the playoffs. Jordan Kuntz falls back to 8th. Now on this restart, we're looking probably maybe at a longer run. Not sure whether cautions will be cautions. Could be also the case. But in terms of this changeup, which driver are you keeping your eyes peeled out for the most, at least, to probably challenge Dylan Alt for this lead?
Based on speed, I'd say Andy McDowell, because he did an awesome job working his way up through the field in stage 1 and was able to hang on to that stage position in stage 2. So he's my guy to watch here, but don't sleep on Blaze McKinney either. He's worked his way up through the field pretty nicely as well on that Power of Pride throwback to Jimmy Johnson's rookie year.
And we'll see as they're doubled up behind the pace car. We'll be on the back straightaway, so we'll take half a lap until we go back to the green flag. It'll be Dylan Alt to the inside, Andy McDowell to the outside of row number 1, Blaze McKinney on the inside of row number 2 with Chase Bonser on the outside. Both of those playoff drivers, actually all 4 of the top 4 are playoff drivers. Actually, all of the top 5 being playoff drivers. Then Vicente Salas outside row number 3. There's Sartaj and Jordan Kuntz. And at row number 4, Mitch Hobbs, Latham Joyner, row number 5. Single file from there on out. Pace cars down to the safety of pit road. Alt steps on the loud pedal. And we are back under green from Darlington.
Very interesting approach to these restarts we're seeing these leaders use is you cutting that inside there off of turn 4. It's not the way you'd normally think of somebody approaching the restart, but we're seeing it work out for these drivers as now McKinney gets the 2nd spot by virtue of being on that inside. He got a very nice restart and now has passed up Andy for that spot. Here comes Bonser charging around the outside of Garner for 4th spot. He will take that position, and now Kuntz is going to try and battle here with Salas for 6th.
There goes Blaze Brinkley trying to get back into this fight, so he's not out of it there just yet. There's Latham Joyner, very loose off of turn number 1, but he's luckily able to save it for the most part. Mitch Hobbs was able to skip by in just enough time to pick up 9th as they're still battling for that last spot into the top 10. Alt, meanwhile, continues to kind of run away with this. Still not over yet, as McKinney has now started to catch up, as McDowell has to hold on from Chase Bonser and the rest of the guys behind. McKinney still trying to catch up. He's been awfully quick within this run, at least within this past run. Ever since the lights have flickered on, his car has really come alive. He's been a lot better on these restarts, a lot better on these opening runs. Not sure how it would seemingly work on the longer run, but we'll just have to see. McKinney almost looked to the inside, but could see another battle brewing up for first.
And McKinney showing that speed that I said don't sleep on him, and now here he is on lap number 74 trying to go for the race lead. Thinks better of it as he did not have a nice angle into that corner, so he'll try and regroup here. And look at the run he gets to 3 and 4, Kenneth, down the front straightaway. He tries to look to the inside, but just not enough run off the corner. But you can see how much better right now in the corners he is than this 99 car. But you also got to think about, is he wearing his tires out, Kenneth? This is a huge talking point here at Darlington. You have to manage your tires, and we'll see how McKinney will do so.
We'll just see, obviously, tires playing a big factor into this race, and especially at a lot of tracks we've already visited this season, Benjamin. So much to talk about the tire wear. Homestead, Miami, saw a lot of tire wear, saw the difference there as well. Went to Texas, that also had a take on the tire wear as well when we saw drivers head down pit road. But if you're looking back, and if you saw the driver that was involved in the last incident, Blaze Brinkley, he's now up to the podium spot on this restart. So he is a man on a mission in that last restart and picked up a bunch of spots to now be on the podium, and even with that damage has been remarkably quick.
Every point matters, and for this 12 car, for this 999, for the 20, it's very important for these guys. They all have to score as many stage points as possible. The 81, the 00 as well. All those drivers are right on that cut line. And they have to get the most points they can. As also, Brady Garner as well, the 55. He needs to get enough points to make this next round because it's only the round of 6.
Yeah, got to be cutting those 4 drivers down. And Blaze Brinkley actually think might have had the fresh tires on that last restart, at least that last caution, being involved in an incident. So with that fresh tires is going to help a lot as a caution waves. Lap number 78, and believe it might have been Vicente Salas who was running in this top 10, is now slow on the racetrack to the apron. We'll try to take a look and see where the crime scene started. He might have been contact there, and actually did more contact between himself and Braxton DeWeese. Maybe some retaliation from that last incident. This was just straight off of turn 4. Was a little bit loose, kept it straight, but then swerved down back into him and then holding onto the brakes there, trying to keep it straight and into the outside wall. That's the reason we have that yellow flag out, Benjamin. Very interesting. Was not expecting that at all, but maybe some payback for what happened on that previous yellow where they both got into contact.
Wow. Well, I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. I don't normally think of either of these drivers as getting mad enough to try and wreck somebody, but wow, that was right on the straightaway there. He made it clear that he was trying to make Deweese's life as hard as possible as he tried to go by, and now pit stops happen. That caution was not timely whatsoever for the 12 of Brinkley. He was charging and flying on those new tires, and now everybody's going to pit, and that's just going to offset him here. So the only thing that really gained Brinkley here is track position, which also could play to be very important here. So I'd say a net gain for him, but it could have been a lot more if we would have went green there.
Could have been a lot more. He was on the verge of taking the race lead, and actually he's just going to get some damage fixed, and he is out of pit road. So that will be the quickest for Brinkley out of pit road. There's Dylan Ault out of pit road. I think Latham also had a run off pit road as well. So Latham's going to gain this spot up to 4th. The only 2 drivers really to stay out are Mitch Hobbs and Jordan Kuntz, who I believe pitted a little bit earlier, or are just electing to save a set of tires for the end of this race. Especially since we're now into the 50 to go, even less now, about 44 to go at the line for those drivers. So those 2 will stay out. Brinkley will have minimal time on pit road. Latham Joyner will be 4th. Ault, though, coming out will be 5th. Blaze McKinney 6th. Brody Garner 7th. Chase Bonser 8th. Andy McDowell 9th. Sartaj Mon being the final driver into this top 10. So now this is going to shake a lot of things up, because we do have a yellow down this stretch. Could possibly mean seeing Kuntz and Mitch Hobbs going down pit road, which could mean the fresh tires down the stretch. No more sets for everyone else. Could be the freshest tires for these 2, maybe even these 3, since Brinkley didn't take tires down that stretch, or maybe even Latham Joyner for that matter. So if we get a late race yellow, could possibly see these 3 or these 4 go down pit road, get fresh rubber, and be at the top of this field, have the freshest tires than anyone in the field at that point in this race. Could be the call of the race at this point.
Very interesting call by both of these leaders here, and this is going to make for a very interesting restart because both of these drivers are on older tires, and both lines will be stacked up here. So definitely the most anticipated restart of the night, at least for me.
And now speaking of actually Jordan Kuntz and Mitch Hobbs, I don't think those, or at least these three, I'm not sure whether Joyner was in this group as well, going down pit road. However, you're looking at these drivers specifically. I think these three seem to be the main. I'm not sure still on Joyner, but if it's Joyner in this group, the top four that don't have too much wear on their rubber. You saw Kuntz, Hobbs, and Brinkley fighting up through this field on the fresh tires because it was that last caution that enabled them to go down pit road, get that fresh set, and they were able to carve through the field as a result. But now that they don't have too much wear, it's maybe only, I'd say, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 laps on those tires, maybe even a little bit more, but not too much to really stretch into that much of a difference in the tires for Dylan Alt. Could be still a difference for guys like Alt, McKinney, Garner, all those drivers that did go down pit road, get all those tires. Could be, but I think these top 4 might be able to hang on for the most part. But still, not knowing the answer, we'll just have to find out as soon as we get this green flag going. We did get the 1 to green signal, so this time we will be taking the green flag. It'll be Kuntz on the inside of row 1. He will lead the field. Mitch Hobbs will be on the outside of row 2. Brinkley, Latham, Joyner into row number 2 behind them. Alton McKinney into row 3, and we're back under green off turn number 4. An early start for Jordan Kuntz. Here comes Blaze Brinkley and the rest of the guys behind.
Brinkley now to the 2nd spot. Joyner coming for the 3rd spot. Hobbs is in the worst spot here on this restart. Kuntz now washes up the racetrack. Here comes Brinkley trying to go for the race lead. He's got the better corner, but that exit, he really got loose off there, but still able to carry that momentum as now Alt goes into the 4th position as Brinkley now goes for the lead.
Alt trying to go for 3rd. Here comes Brinkley trying to move for the lead. It wouldn't be enough. That's a huge check up there. Alt now to the inside. Huge wreck behind. Hobbs is involved. A large pack up. Joyner's up in the air. And we have a yellow, huge wreck.
More cars!
Aaron Brown involved. Dylan Alt with possibly
Lord.
the worst of it. Garner involved. DeWeese involved. That was a huge pileup going into turn number 1.
Oh, man.
This deserves a replay.
Kenneth, this race just got turned upside down. Let's see what happened here. Looks like the first contact was between Joyner and Alt. Let's see. Oh, chain bumping down the front straightaway has actually caused that wreck. Wow.
Oh, man.
Not normally something you'll see at Darlington, as there's also Ryan Kendrick, another one of our chase contenders, is in trouble there. Several drivers now blowing up, missing their hoods. I mean, so many cars have damage here, but Dylan Alt, the 2nd dominant driver of the night, now has crashed and has way more damage than Vicente ever did, so we might come out with a new winner here tonight, just given the circumstances that have just taken out the 98, or not the 98, excuse me, the 99 and the 14. I mean, this is absolutely huge.
I mean, this started with, there was a huge checkup, or at least a big sandwich happening down that front straightaway there. Hobbs had the run. He had the help from McKinney to support. And then all of a sudden, off turn 4, I think the 3 gets checked up here. Huge push, and then pushes the 3 out into the 99. And they all start stacking up. They come back up the racetrack. Latham goes for a huge ride up top over the field. And I think a camera could really be living or be surviving after that one. Huge wreck. There's DeWeese. McDowell supposedly does get by from all of this. There's more contact. There's Aaron Brown, Casey Drake. And a large wreck on lap number 86. This could be the game changer for Blaze Brinkley and Jordan Kuntz, respectively, both of them who are still in these playoffs, have a shot at gaining more points, especially in Brinkley's case, because Kuntz is kind of relatively in good shape in terms of the points. But Brinkley needs this more than ever now with Alt out of the picture. That's 1 extra point to gain when we go to the end of this race. Well, that was quite possibly that's the biggest wreck we've seen all night. Most of the wrecks we've seen, maybe about 2 to 3 cars, but That was almost about 10, I'd say. Maybe even 8 to 10 could be around that figure. There's Blaze McKinney down pit road. Mitch Hobbs also went down. A lot of these drivers from this wreck do have damage. Their nights could be over. Ryan Kendrick could still gain off of this, though, Benjamin. Especially with the amount of drivers there that are taken out from this. This is not over at all. Whatsoever.
This is absolutely what Kendrick needed, even though he has all sorts of damage on that 00 car. You can see how many cars are even left in the pace line at this point. But cars that are out of the race now include the 14. He's parked the car, done for the night. Brody Garner, he's one lap down. I'm not sure if he's parked. But Hartz looks to be out there in 15th. Sartaj definitely is out. He had some of the biggest damage in that crash, so I'd expect him to be done there. Aaron Brown as well. Dylan Alt's still on the racetrack, so he's just trying to salvage what he can out of tonight's race, even though he just got crashed down the front straightaway. There's Brody in the pit lane, so he's attempting to get repairs. I mean, there's just so many people that have now gotten huge damage from that wreck, so absolutely a turning point here in tonight's event.
I'm trying to take a look at the other replay, or just try to get a replay of the replay, because that was a huge wreck. We tried to look, and fortunately had some technical difficulties trying to look back at that wreck, but we'll just try to see. There it is. Going to look back at it right here. A look from the front straightaway.
Chain bumping, Kenneth.
Yeah, just that 15 got into the back of the 89, trying to give him the push, but then did not give such a good push to the 3 of Joyner, or at least just hit him in the wrong spot. And then Joyner just goes up in a huge wreck. Sartaz is involved in this late. That's a huge pile up there between DeWeese and Joyner there up in the air. And then Aaron Brown also in this as well. Kendrick also spun in there, but he did get minimal damage. McDowell somehow did survive off of this. I'm not sure how he was able to. Held on the brakes, and right there off of a spinning Mitch Hobbs was able to swerve left just in time, slow the car down in order. But actually, we're back under the green flag. So while we were looking at the replay, we caught this green flag. Kuntz and Brinkley now to the top 2, and it's about a quartet now for the first spot. It's their way loose off turn 2. Here comes McDowell, 3 wide for the lead.
And he's going to try and make it stick. Kuntz had to back out. Buds are up into the wall. He's probably going to be mad at his driver after that, as he got put in the wall off of that whole move by Andy McDowell. He sailed it 3 wide into turn 3, put Kuntz up in a chase, and Chase, who is the team owner of Andy, is probably not going to like that. But how about Blaze Brinkley pulling away from Andy McDowell right now? What a drive, what a night. It's just been absolute turmoil for him. He's been in the wall several times. He got involved in a spin earlier, but now is in the race lead. So his night's done a complete 180, but here comes McDowell. He's going to get blocked now down the front straightaway, aggressively trying to keep this lead right now.
Huge block by the number 12 of Blaze Brinkley, trying to get out of the way, or at least keep that 20 at bay. McDowell has been charging on those fresh tires. He's going to try once more. Here's another block, but there's a move up to the outside. So here comes Andy McDowell. Might not be enough. Could be the crossover, as we have a battle for the lead, possibly even back to third, with Kuntz now following to the bottom.
Now Kuntz goes to the inside for the second spot. Even though Brinkley may not win this race if it goes green due to the tire differential, definitely a good salvage of a night here, as he was as far back as 15th place, I believe, under that one of those last green flag runs. So could have been worse for him here tonight, as Alt somehow with all that damage is in 4th. That just shows how many competitive cars there are left in this race. But Blaze McKinney also got sent to the rear for that crash, Kenneth, and he's only recovered to 8th. I don't know if he has significant damage, and no, he's just trapped behind these drivers. There's side by side between Atlanta winner Casey Drake, and that's Chase Bonzer, who needs to recover from just smashing the wall earlier in this run. And McKinney tried to go low, but Bonzer really fends off there.
Well, with that contact, that really trapped Blaze McKinney. Had to really slow the car down, and think he might have some engine troubles, as he's fairly slow down the front straightaway, maybe just to run off the corner. Here's Blaze Brinkley, though, trying to fight back for first. Did lose that spot to Andy McDowell, but he's now picking to the inside, so still a battle for the lead brewing into turn 3 and 4. could be Jordan Kuntz and Dylan and Ryan Kendrick spoiling the party as all, even with that damage, still is up to 4th. Here comes Ryan Kendrick. Huge checkup now on the front straightaway. All 5 cars in the mix. Kuntz down all the way to the top 5, and a topsy-turvy night for Ryan Kendrick as well could be to his benefit in the final stage of this race. There's Brody Garner with possible engine damage, a hard race car, or at least a car with heavy damage all the way down there. I think Kuntz might have been done with this. He's now going down to pit road. Still fighting for the lead though, but here comes Alt now for the race lead, or at least for second, as Andy McDowell continues to lead. My bad, excuse me. But Alt now up to second, Kendrick now up to 3rd, and Brinkley's going to fall back to 4th. This was the situation of a lifetime for Andy McDowell, who's been strong on the later runs, especially in that latter half of the run. There's Jordan Kuntz now out of pit road, but McDowell has had a stellar night so far, has been escaping all of the wrecks. I don't even think he's picked up damage on that Toyota Camry just yet. And he's done wonders now as he's now up to the race lead. Alt still trying to fend for second though. Even with all that damage on that recent wreck, he's still able to charge, and especially with those fresh tires, it is helping to his benefit. There is Ryan Kendrick moving to 3rd. Blaze Brinkley now, who was just in the lead for a short period of time, he is now down to 4th. Casey Drake now up to the top 5, and I think McKinney might have fallen all the way back to 13th as he's now down pit road getting his service. Could have been just it for Blaze McKinney. There's Aaron Brown trying to go for... he's 11th. Trying to get to the inside of Chase Bonser there, but that's not for position. Bonser currently sitting 6th. Still up for second between Alt and Kendrick, as Kendrick might have the run, still not able to find his way by. But even then, Kendrick, with the night he's had, with the troubles he's had early in this race, this is the best situation that he could ever be in. Now trying to look to the inside, and after all those wrecks, Kendrick has now put himself in a place to potentially put himself into the round of 6 next week once we reach out to Charlotte. As McDowell continue to leads, and as we go to the line, we'll get 24 to go from Darlington. Better look at who was down pit road. Saw Jordan Kuntz. You see where he is now on the racetrack. He is 9th, so he's still trying to pick up. He is 1 lap down, though, so a yellow probably would be his savior at the moment. Could be the best thing for him as soon as he's going down the stretch. You see him on the fresher tires, trying to get by these leaders. Going to try to unlap himself, but I think the distance may be too large. Now this field is completely separated, as Andy now is up by almost just a second over Ryan Kendrick. Remember, these two are playoff drivers, and these two were at a deficit going into tonight. Andy McDowell and Ryan Kendrick both below the cutoff. And now with this race, this could be the best situation for them. Could be the game changer, especially with Sam King out, possibly with Brody Garner out. Remember, these guys were separated by, I'd say, about 5 or more points, maybe even 4 points. And when you looked at the tie for 7th going into this race between Chase Bonser and Andy McDowell, that could completely push Bonser a little further back. This could be the race for Andy McDowell. He just has to hold on for 21 more laps, as Kendrick is now starting to cut into this lead.
Talk about a roller coaster night. The 00 once got lapped for spinning on entry to the pit lane, and now he has a shot to win this race. As I hear a dog is barking in the background, but will not pay attention to that. Anyways, Ryan Kendrick, though, working down the back straightaway, and he's definitely coming on these, I would presume, newer tires here, Kenneth. So even with that damage, he is still able to contend, and he really needs as many points as possible. If he can pull out the win here tonight, he might just get into the round of 6.
Remember last time by, it was about 0.8 seconds between the leader and Ryan Kendrick. Now it's down to half a second between the two. So Kendrick is surely cutting into this lead, and he could possibly take it over within the next couple laps if he's able to get by. I think he is on the fresher rubber, so he is able to gain a little bit more grip than that 20 down the stretch, but we really haven't seen much of that 00. At least through this run, you saw him get into contact, saw him hit the wall in the opening lap of this race, got into more contact, fell all the way back to the top 15, maybe even down to the top 20. And then with all of these wrecks, everything that's gone on so far, Kendrick has been strong. He's been able to pounce on every single situation. And now he's within striking distance of your race leader as we hit to lap 107.
It's kind of staying put here at about 0.5 of a second, so maybe those tires have been worn out. As third place Dylan Alt, I still don't know how he's that far up with that damage, but he's 4.4 seconds back. Probably not going to be a factor unless we have some caution where a bunch of damaged cars put on tires, but that's a strategy for another time. Here is we take another lap complete right now. Looks like we have 17 laps to go, I believe, here as we work lap 108, and the gap's still staying put about 4 to 0.5 of a second, Kenneth. So this is what Andy McDowell needs right now, is to just run his pace, maybe save a little bit, so once Kendrick catches him, he could start pulling away once again. So very interesting tire saving game coming up here for these leaders.
Yeah, we'll see especially if this stays green all the way through. It's going to be interesting to see which of these two drivers is able to prevail. Saw Kendrick now at a half a second, but since then he's been practically stagnant, has really not been able to cut into the lead further. But even then, with the things we've seen tonight so far, Benjamin, it's been mostly single file with a lot of drivers battling, maybe some looks to the inside, but if you're on kind of the same set of tires, if you're on the same amount of wear, it's not as easy to make that inside work. That outside really is going to be the one that prevails, especially if you're trying to make a move setting up in a turn 3 and 4, where we've seen the outside be so much more prevalent. Really, turn 1 is the best place to look to the inside if you have a run off turn 4. And speaking of which, a yellow flag is out on lap number 110. Could have involved either Carter Hartz, Brody Garner, could have been even more.
They were both repairing damage. I don't believe it was either of them. Maybe Malachi Drake, perhaps? Oh, here we go. Mark Frimpong. 64 laps down and has crashed. So drivers that are 20-plus laps down have crashed twice tonight. So very interesting. Here is... Oh, he just knocks down the wall and spins and can't hang on to it. And there's Malachi, so I was correct on him being involved in that one. But this has completely turned the race upside down. Who has tires? Who has tires? This is going to be absolutely huge. If anybody has tires, they could win the race right here.
And this
Looks
is it.
like everybody does.
This could be the call. Jordan Kunsto stays out. Actually, Andy stays out as everyone else pits in. Remember, Kuntz pit down a little bit earlier. He is 1 lap down, though, so you will have to gain his lap back. But McDowell stays out at the head of this field. Everyone else, though, decides to go down pit road. This could officially be the call that changes this race completely. Or at least could be the pit stop for the win, as Kendrick leads everybody down. I'm very surprised that Andy decided to stay out on this run, because he's the only one staying out on the lead lap. So now we'll see who the winner is off pit road. Most likely will be Kendrick. Actually, Blaze might have it over, and Brinkley takes over second. So with the fresh tires, Brinkley and Kendrick are in position to possibly win this race down the stretch. Everybody else still down pit road.
That might have just won Brinkley the race right there. And there you see Andy McDowell is probably second-guessing his decision to stay out. And we'll see if he actually goes to the pit lane.
He's going to go down pit road.
Wow. He just lost all his track position. And, I mean, he realized that he wasn't going to win on old tires, so might as well give yourself a chance here by pitting here. And he's going to be behind some damaged race cars, though. That's the problem here with his pit call blunder. But he's doing damage control right now, just trying to minimize the magnitude of this mistake here.
I was very surprised about that call. It turns out he goes down pit road. I think the good thing about this, the only good thing will be at least he's still on equal footing, and with the speed he's had tonight so far, it could mean him gaining positions, maybe not for this win, but even still trying to get up in this top 5. But a situation that I've never seen this before, very odd situation for Andy McDowell. So that shifts the lead to Blaze Brinkley, who will most likely be the leader on this next restart. It'll be less than 11 laps to go, maybe even less than 10 laps to go when we reach the start-finish line. Ryan Kendrick will most likely be second. These two are playoff drivers. Casey Drake will be in third after hanging in. He's not a playoff driver, but he could still get a great finish out of this. McDowell, though, actually will sit to fourth, since most of this top 5 will be under 1 lap down. Could be not too bad. Could soften the blow for Andy McDowell, actually, in terms of this run. So if he starts fourth on this racetrack, he's going to be starting on the outside as we get the 1 to green signal. So indeed, Andy McDowell will be fourth on the racetrack. Dylan Alt will be to fifth. So even then, Andy was able to gain that position over Dylan Alt in the process. Kuntz is going to file back in. There's Malachi. There's Chase Bonser in 8th. So this could be the final restart. We'll see if we have any more from here on out, but we got less than 10 laps to go. Andy, though, did not lose as many positions, so he'll be on the outside of row number 2. With some of the fresher tires, everybody on equal footing here. 3 rows filed in. We'll go off of turn number 4. Pace car is off, and we are back under green. What could be the final restart of the evening.
And Brinkley goes ahead and uses that tactic of cutting to the inside right off that restart. He'll do so. And now Casey Drake, our Atlanta winner, now up to the 2nd spot. He's got damage, though, and is blocking off McDowell for that spot. Andy really needs to get on the loud pedal here. Here he goes to the inside for the 2nd spot. Casey now probably is going to give that up, given how much damage he has.
And here comes Dylan Alt now, charging hard to the outside. We'll see if he has enough room. He's going to make some space to the outside of Andy McDowell, so it's still not over yet, as we got 9 laps to go at the line. Here comes Casey Drake for the lead. Almost contact between the two as he's blocking all the way down the racetrack.
I cannot believe that Casey Drake got that huge of a run down the front straightaway. Now has to regroup and try to make another run into turn 3. You can see them all stack up in this line here. Drake, McDowell, Alt, and Kuntz, who I think got trapped a lap down.
Whoa, here's contact.
Yes, sir. Now Drake to the inside, but he has to back out of it. But what my point was Kuntz actually got trapped a lap down on that last run. Would have finished a lap down if he didn't get that caution. Got the free pass, now back up to the 5th spot. So Kuntz also doing a nice job of salvaging tonight's race. But Casey Drake trying to reconcile one more time and try and get this win away from Blaze Brinkley, who has had an up and down night. You can see how much better of an exit he has than the 12 car, Kenneth. So if he can get a good exit like that every lap, that might just win him the race. But 1 and 2 is where he's struggling on speed.
I remember that number 12 machine has been blocking most of the drivers trying to get to that inside. He already did it to the 87. He's done it to Andy McDowell. So needless to say, he probably won't hesitate on doing it again if it is necessary. You see it's all single file from this top 5. There's Jordan Kuntz trying to work in for 4th. He was a lap down, did get the lucky dog, so he's back on this lead lap. Got a little bit of smoke up ahead, but no harm, no foul. We stay green with less than, I'd say, 10 laps to go already going into the final stretch of this race. Casey is still not done yet. He's going to have a run off turn number 2, but he's going to back out of it. Here comes Andy McDowell. Might try to spoil the party.
Casey backs up the corner. We'll see if he can get a nice run here off turn number 4. That time, Brinkley, I would argue, had the better run off the corner, and if he can do that every lap, he might be able to hang on to this thing. 5 to go.
5 to go at the line. Does Andy have enough to get by Casey Drake? He does have the run off the corner, but I don't think he's going to try and make this move. Going to try to support all the way to the front. Remember, the 1st and 3rd, 4th and 5th are all playoff drivers. Actually, 6th and 7th back there are all playoff drivers. Casey Drake's the only non-playoff driver in this group. 4 laps to go at the line. Can Brinkley hang on?
Driving through 1 and 2 right now. Uses all the racetrack. Everybody's using all the track, Kenneth, and that's what's fun about this racetrack. You can use all the track to make as huge of a run as possible. You can see Casey trying to do that. He gets into the wall in turn 3.
Well, that's going to hinder his run. Andy McDowell and the rest have to check up, but they stay single file. Casey will file to second. 3 laps to go for Blaze Brinkley, who's been able to hold on so far, but there could be another charging run developing by either of the drivers behind. Here comes Andy McDowell, trying to look for second. It's side off turn 2, but Andy does have the space. And no, contact! Casey's around at the bottom of the racetrack. Can he save it? We'll see if he's able to keep it straight, or if a yellow comes out, and he keeps it straight. So green flag still out. 2 laps to go at the line.
That has really helped the 12 pull away here. Here comes Alt to the inside. I just don't know how he's able to salvage that run with that damage. I mean, he's all torn up and he's up to second. But Brinkley, though, this is what he needed.
Brinkley into 3 and 4, all clear and well, but Alt may be charging, but we'll see if he has enough time. Off of turn 4, Blaze Brinkley will come off and take the white flag one more time from the lady in black.
Kenneth, what an eventful race here tonight. We saw lots of tire strategies, tire saving early in the race, then we got that caution, and then we had the big one, which wiped out most of our contenders. We've seen some rivalries being brewed tonight, but the only thing that is being brewed here tonight for Blaze Brinkley, after the up and down night that he's had, is his first win of the season coming tonight here at Darlington. Congratulations to Blaze Brinkley on his win here tonight. He will make the round of 6.
Brinkley, after a struggling night early, finishes at the top of the board and wins from Darlington Raceway. Dylan Alt will survive to second. Andy McDowell possibly could secure his spot into the round of 6 with that 3rd place finish. Kuntz 4th, Bonser 5th, Ryan Kendrick 6th. Top 6 all with playoff drivers as Casey Drake falls to 7th. But all eyes on Blaze Brinkley, who takes a win here tonight, even with a damaged race car, and will burn it down right in the front straightaway, right in front of all the virtual fans. He'll burn down the tires, and that was the winning moment. Held off all the charging drivers at the end. Played it right on the tire strategy, and was able to take a win. What a drive, and what a race. What an eventful ending. And final stage as the 12 celebrates down the front straightaway. We'll take a look at your race results and see exactly where everybody did finish. And of course, Blaze Brinkley with his win in this season, he'll take first, and his machine Dylan Alt survives for second with all of that damage. After that wreck, he finishes about a second behind. Andy McDowell will come home with a podium finish. We'll see how he results in the point standings. Jordan Kuntz will finish 4th. Chase Bonser, playoff driver, will result in this top 5. Ryan Kendrick will come home 6th. Casey Drake, the non-playoff driver, finishes 7th. Malachi Drake, last week's winner, will survive for 8th. Mitch Hobbs finishes 9th. Aaron Brown will finish in this top 10.
11th tonight will be Brody Garner, 25 laps down. Corey Hart's 12th. Blaze McKinney 13th. Braxton DeWeese 14th. Lathan Joyner, Sartajman, Vicente Salas, who dominated the early portion of this race, only ends up 17th, not indicative of how he ran here tonight. Noah Allison, Nick Miller, and Mark Frimpong will round up the top 20, and then the final finishers here on the grid are Michael DiMaggio, Josh Kosick, and then our 2 admins of Cody Webster and Michael Campbell did not start the race.
So that will file out the rest of this field here from Darlington. We'll take a short break, and when we step aside and when we come back, we'll have all the post-race coverage with our KBRN post-race coverage brought to you by SDC. We'll have interviews with our top 5 and a little more analysis on what we can expect going into the round of 6. And we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. You're watching the Redline Racing Cup Series live on the KBueno Racing Network. Coverage of tonight's Redline Racing Cup Series race at Darlington is brought to you by iRacing. Start your sim racing career today at iRacing.com. By EO Media, get your graphic design done. Just contact EO.media on Instagram. And by Supermix, concrete blocks on demand. We're back live from the Darlington Raceway, where Blaze Brinkley has come off of a tipsy-turvy night and comes home as the winner here from Darlington. And what a finish for him. We'll take him into victory lane. Give us our first interview of the evening. And Blaze, first of all, welcome to victory lane and congratulations on that win. An unbelievable run till the end. You had some doubts early with that contact and you were falling back through this field, but you play this tire strategy right. You survived a lot of the huge wrecks and you come home as a winner with possibly a shot and a run into the round of 6 and next week at Charlotte. Tell us what that means to you and how your race was all the way to the end in that final segment.
Oh, it was a wild race. Started off me and Vicente. I mean, we're not teammates, but we kind of work together in these league deals, and we were just sitting there riding. Everything was going great. We were gonna finish second in the stage, gain a bunch of points, get enough gap to where I wouldn't have to really worry about it. Got into the wall one time, and the car just quit turning after that, and lost almost all my stage points. Finished like 8th, I think, in that stage. Got turned. It was after the first stage. I was just like, yeah, there's no way we're gonna get in after this unless a miracle happens. Then the cautions just fell my way.
And things really fell your way all the way to the end. Of course, that tire move down to the end where you guys decided to go down pit road, and Andy McDowell stayed out that one extra lap, decided to lose a little bit more track position to go down pit road, but you were able to hold on. Just tell us what that experience was behind the wheel in that final segment after that restart all the way to the checkered flag that you were really holding on to that race car and holding off a charging Casey Drake on all the guys behind?
Oh, it was crazy. After hitting the wall earlier in the race, my car just did not have the raw speed it needed. Like, straightaway speed was down. I think I had some motor damage, honestly. And they were so much faster, but I just had to try to block as much as I could. And he got under me once, but I just stayed up top and got the run, and he got tight, and it kind of ended that. And then they started wrecking behind me. No caution came out.
Well, you hold on for this win, and most importantly, you're able to survive going into the round of 6. You move up to 3rd in the point standings with this one. You gain 2 spots along the way. Tell us what strategy is going to be needed now to Charlotte and Talladega in order to secure your spot into a Championship 4 run going to the end of the season at Indy and Phoenix.
We won the All-Star race at Charlotte last season, so I think we'll be pretty quick there. One thing I've learned a lot this year is it's more about just being able to put a whole race together. I mean, a lot of guys, they can come right out of the box and grab a few stage points, but then they end up wrecking and they lose 10 to 15 points at the end of the race. So I just think we got to put a solid race together and do our job, and we'll be there.
Well, Blaze, before we let you go down in victory lane, I know there's probably a lot of people that get it done for you. So which people do you have to thank for tonight's performance and tonight's victory?
JH Graphic Designs, he always keeps me looking good. Josh Kosick, he usually spots for me, but he was racing tonight, so he couldn't. But, I mean, I just got to thank everyone that supports me.
All right, Blaze. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us. And, of course, congratulations on your victory here tonight at Darlington. We hope to see you at Charlotte next week. I know the playoffs are going to continue to tighten. It's going to be a lot more tension-filled, at least, and then. So congratulations, and we'll see you coming in next week.
Thank you.
That was Blaze Brinkley, your winner here tonight from Darlington. Going to skip you out to second. Usually, Benjamin would have had this interview, but unfortunately, Benjamin had to leave early, so he won't be taking care of any of the interviews tonight. But actually, Dylan Alt is not in any of the voice chats, so we'll actually get Andy McDowell in the 3rd place right here into the broadcast booth. And Andy, you had a very, very strong car ever since the drop of the green flag. You had your run. You were eagerly right there in the points, and you were making the most of it here at Darlington, and you were strong in the long runs. You were able to pick up. You had the lead there, and then you go down pit road 1 lap after everyone else goes down pit road. What was really the decision behind that, or really was the expectations of what was going to happen there on that caution?
Oh, so Chase was telling me that if I stayed out, Kuntz would stay on the not Chase. Jordan would stay a lap down, but that was terribly wrong, as you can see. So, yeah, we still got there though. So I guess I'll take it.
You pick up 3rd, and of course that is a good amount of points that'll go to your resume going into this. And I know that this race was not necessarily up and down for you, but you were pretty much up through this field most of the race. But you saw it change a lot. You survived a lot of the big wrecks. I know you were seeing Vicente and Dylan all kind of battling up 1-2 through this field. You were kind of in 3rd. You were there with Nick Miller. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of wrecks that are happening around you. What was the motive to try and survive, or was it really kind of a game of attrition by the end of that race?
Well, whenever the big one happened, the plan was to get by Jordan and who was it? Blaze, as fast as I could, me and Chase. And I had a big run on them, like coming into the corner, and I took it 3, and apparently netcode happened and killed Chase, which is unfortunate. But like, I get people are mad about it, like, Darlington, why would you take 3 wide? But if you look at it, I had fresher tires. If that netcode didn't happen, I would have cleared Kuntz. Chase would have been right behind me, and me and Chase would have had a run on Brinkley, and we would have been by them within a lap. But it didn't play out like that. It's unfortunate. It is what it is.
Well, Andy, certainly you come up with a good finish, a P3 after a very strong night here at Darlington. And before we let you go, which people do you have to thank, or what team sponsors, or really anyone you just like to shout out here for tonight's race?
Proximity Racing. Ever since I joined them, we been on the move. So Oh, by the way, my bad for turning Casey. It may have looked intentional, but that was completely like accidental. I tried to get right behind him and then get a run into 1 because I knew I couldn't pass him in 3, and I had to do it fast, but that didn't happen. But good win the Blaze, and yeah.
Well, Andy, nonetheless, congratulations on your podium finish, and we look forward to seeing you rip up the track there at Charlotte next week.
All right, thank you.
Andy McDowell comes home from the 3rd spot. I actually do have a word with the driver right behind, Jordan Coons, who finishes in 4th, and we'll bring him in for a top 5 finish. And first of all, Jordan, obviously welcome to the booth, and another strong run for you in that 999, and you guys kind of were a little bit up and down kind of through some of the midfield, but you guys came back to the front of this field, and you guys were able to really hang on for this 4th place finish. What was the biggest part of this night, at least for you, to try to hang on to the round of 6?
So this race today was mainly a race of attrition. If you could survive, you're at least getting like a top 10 finish. So my focus going into this race was surviving and getting a lot of stage point to make it through to the next round.
And stage points certainly were critical when it came to a lot of the drivers going for those final spots, at least to make it into the round of 6. But the good news for you is that you really jumped up everybody at Kentucky. You go to 3rd now after tonight's race from Darlington. Now you move on to the round of 6. What are your thoughts on going to Charlotte and Talladega? What are your thoughts on those tracks specifically, being those races in that round, and how you're feeling about those?
So Charlotte, I feel that I'm really good at Charlotte, and I think I'll do really well there. And at Talladega, it's just going to be a free-for-all. Anybody can win it, and you can definitely be eliminated there.
All right, Jordan, where you come home P4 tonight, and after tonight's race, which people do you have to thank? Any team sponsors, or really anyone you just like to shout out for tonight's P4 and top 5 finish?
My grandpa for watching this race tonight.
All right, Jordan. Well, congratulations on your top 5 finish, and of course, congratulations for advancing onto the round of 6. We look forward to seeing what you can do over there at Charlotte next week.
Thank you.
Jordan Kuntz, your 4th place finisher here tonight from Darlington. Going to go to our top 5 and our final interview of the evening. We're going to look to Chase Bonson, the number 81. Also had a race to remember here from Darlington. And Chase, I think it was a wild race for sure for a lot of these drivers, just to really state it with a simple word. Wild all the way to the end in that final stage, and that really was, you were kind of at the center of all of it. You saw the wrecks. You were kind of in the midst of everything that was going on. Walk us through your experience behind the wheel and your thoughts about that final stage specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty wild race from start to finish, especially the last stage. Everybody was just trying to get as much as they could. I thought I had a lot of big breaks there, a lot of wrecks that I got lucky on and avoided, but yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I think I'm out of the playoffs, so it's kind of a heartbreaker.
And unfortunately, you missed by 1 spot to the playoffs, and I know it was a very strong run for you in that 81 team. You guys put up a lot of great performances through these playoffs, but now that you're not running for the championship anymore, what's going to be the mindset for your team specifically now moving into these final races to try and gain some momentum all the way to Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm just going to try to run the best races I can, and hopefully I can be one of the highest finishing non-championship drivers at the end of the season, and hopefully I can help my teammates get to the championship and hopefully win it.
All right, Chase. Well, we certainly appreciate the time. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd just like to thank, any team sponsors, or really anyone you'd just like to give a shout out to for tonight's performance in the top 5?
Yeah, just my teammates at Proximity Racing, and I want to give a shout out to Splash and Go Graphics for making the throwback paint tonight.
A beautiful throwback indeed. It was very, very fun watching that car whip around this racetrack. But congratulations on your top 5. Chase, we look forward to seeing what you can do over at Charlotte next week. And, of course, congratulations on this top 5.
Thanks.
Chase Bonso, your final driver in this top 5 for tonight's race from Darlington. That caps off all the drivers in our run, or at least all the drivers are running for those top 5 spots in our interviews after tonight's finishing order. And we've got an update on what the points are looking like in terms of what the round of 6 is going to be. We're going to give you a look at what the playoffs were looking like before. This was the order going into tonight, and we're going to read as follows. This will be your points grid, or the playoff grid now going into the round of 6 at Charlotte. Vicente Salas does hold on to his lead in the points. Dylan Alt also follows through to second, so that is relatively unchanged. But if you look to third, there's Blaze McKinney, Jordan Kuntz, and Braze Brinkley. They are third and fourth. Actually, Jordan Kuntz is third. Brinkley, with this win, is fourth. Andy McDowell moves up to fourth, tied. He will be fifth. Blaze McKinney is also tied for fourth, but he will occupy the P number 6. And, of course, you see seventh on back. It'll be Chase Sponsor, Brody Garner, Ryan Kendrick, and Sam King will be the final drivers that are eliminated from this round. And it will just be the 6 drivers up ahead, starting with Blaze McKinney. That'll be the round of 6 going to next week at Charlotte. And we would have our final thoughts, but not necessarily any with Benjamin not in the booth. Of course, he had to leave early before, so obviously we appreciate all of Benjamin's support and what he's been able to do in this broadcast, in the past couple of broadcasts for this Redline Cup Series. Congratulations to Blaze Brinkley on a win here from Darlington Raceway, the track too tough to tame. Of course, we thank each and every one of you in the broadcast tuning in from the YouTube stream on the KBueno Racing Network. We certainly do appreciate it. So follow us here at the Redline Racing League for Cody Webster for putting on the show each and every week. And follow us here at the KBueno Racing Network for Charlie Baier, Francisco Bacallao, and of course, Benjamin White alongside me in the booth. Kenneth Bueno saying good night from Darlington.